we go. Here we go. All right. So we have a quorum, so we will be able to at least have the meeting. We were getting close and no one had come to my party yet. I'm getting nervous. People always come through. All right, it's 6 o'clock. Do we want to give it another minute? Let's give it 1 minute. And there's Shannon. Okay, I know Lori's going to be a couple minutes late, so we're okay. A good start then. Okay. All right, let me start recording again.
Recording in progress.
All right. So let's roll call in to start the vote. To start this meeting. Jonathan.
Jonathan Schmidt here.
Mayor LaChapelle.
Mayor LaChapelle here.
Maren.
Aaron Goldstein here.
Marissa.
Marissa Carreri here.
Shannon.
Shannon Dunham here.
And Cindy Kwasinski here. Y'all just bounced around, so I think I got everybody. Okay, welcome to our October 12th, 2021 school committee meeting. Our next meetings will be October 26th, November 9th, here's Lori, and 12/14. See, you're like a minute late, so that was perfect, Lori. We just roll called in. Dr. LeClaire, do you have any announcements?
Yes, I do have a few this evening. Thank you. So let me start off by saying that the district administration is in the process of collecting vaccination status information from all of our school employees, and unvaccinated staff will be expected to take part in weekly COVID safety checks. This data point will be shared with the community, just in large data percent, and will be important for contact tracing in our schools, as well as our overall health and safety. To date, I'm happy to report that we have almost 1,200 staff and students taking part in weekly COVID safety checks. And by the way, all pools were negative last week, which I know comes out individually by each administrator, but as a district, all pools were negative last week. So on another note, Easthampton, like many school districts across the country, is experiencing food delivery disruption due to shipping challenges. What this means for families is that we may occasionally need to make menu substitutions at the last minute, and it's beyond our control, and it's happening in every school district. Some building-specific announcements. We want to let you know that there are parent-teacher conferences on Thursday and Friday. This was a message from the elementary school, October 21st and 22nd, using a hybrid format. That means that we're giving families the option of either in-person or Zoom. And the Spirit Week at Center Pepin is happening October 25th to the 29th. At Whitebrook, there are some important clubs that are starting. Guitar Club is on Monday and Fridays. There are 30 students participating, and our student and staff strat team is also working on raising awareness together on important issues, and that starts next week. I want to take a minute and mention that this evening, right now, there's a local heroes event taking place at the high school for Hispanic Heritage Month. Thank you to Cindy Mojica and everyone involved in putting together a very successful event. The mayor and I were both there before we jumped into this meeting, so I'm sad we couldn't be there for the whole event, but it looked like it was going to be a great night. The homecoming dance is this weekend from 7 to 10 p.m. out on the patio in front of the school, and there is a rain date. And all of our schools are currently seeking substitutes for teacher and paraeducator roles in our schools. I know people are probably tired of hearing from me about that, but please reach out to central office if you want to learn more. We are desperately seeking people for positions. And finally, I would like to welcome this year's student rep, Student Council President Kayla Scanlon, to our meeting. And I think she was here tonight, so just wanted to say welcome to her. And I hope did I say it correctly? Kayla, is it Kayla?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. Welcome.
Thank
And
you.
that's all I have for tonight.
Okay, thank you. Do we have correspondence?
We have a couple items of correspondence from Justin Eichenlob requesting that transportation eligibility be determined by the address of care rather than by home address. And also from Kara Kunha with the same request about a change to the transportation policy. And then from Megan Ward Harvey, writing in response to the mayor's comments at a previous meeting about how we are able to keep our schools open safely at this moment. And I believe that was it.
Okay. Do we have gifts?
I did not see any gifts in the packet.
I did not either. All right. So now we're going to open this up to public speak. So if you would like to talk, we're going to ask you to keep it to 3 minutes, and please say who you are and signal to us now. We are opening public speak. Kelly Brown would like to talk. Go ahead, Kelly.
Good evening, folks. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Kelly Brown, and I'm a history and government teacher at Easthampton High School, including the We the People program. I have 2 quick questions and then just a comment on policy. I'm wondering when you'll be meeting again in person instead of using Zoom. And I just know Zoom can be a barrier for some families. And could you add a brief statement to the main school committee page that directs people to click on the agenda to find the Zoom link? Because even I had a little trouble finding it, and I do this every day. But I do want to just quickly address a policy that the superintendent referenced in her announcement, which has to do with a vaccine mandate, which is loosely defined, as she mentioned earlier. So on October 1st, all staff received an email message from the superintendent describing a vaccination mandate for educators and staff in schools with 2 key components. The first was for us to submit our vaccination status by October 15th. And then the second part, as she mentioned, requires those who are not vaccinated to complete a weekly COVID test, really treating staff differently based on their vaccination status. I'm not here at all to comment on the substance of this policy, but the procedure that's been used here, because I do think process matters. When I asked the superintendent about the process, she promptly and earnestly provided me with a very reasonable explanation for the need for this policy, but didn't clarify why this action was being implemented via the superintendent and not the more formal public policy process. She said she had sought input from the EEA and school committee. In my understanding, this mandate constitutes a policy and therefore should follow the formal school committee procedure for policy. Whether a vote is or not a vote is actually required by the school committee, I do think it is, in my humble opinion, wise, as transparency, open debate, and safety are all key elements of school committee policy. Based on the fact that this will require the unequal treatment of staff, assuming that there are staff members that are unvaccinated, I'm making that assumption. It seems appropriate that there should be a formal process and public forum available for anyone to convey their opinions, whether they be in support of, against, or simply have questions about the policy. And at this time, there really is no venue for that to happen publicly, as this has been administered through a simple directive. I want to again make clear that I am not criticizing the substance of this seemingly reasonable policy. I am simply encouraging a more formal policy process. I assume the collection of this data will indicate that the vast majority of our school staff have been vaccinated. I request that before unvaccinated staff are actually required to submit to weekly testing, that the committee follow a more formal process for that required action. Until then, I think it should remain a request. As you all know, I'm a civics and government teacher. I work hard to help students understand our government institutions at the local, state, and national level. And at this moment, I'm here just trying to understand those very procedures as they impact me and my fellow staff members. I also work really hard to promote civil discourse by encouraging students to listen to various opinions on policy. And I encourage them to seek opinions different from their own and to treat those with whom they disagree as rational human beings, and to always base their passionate opinions in knowledge and reasoning. And I know that this is equally important to you. As public servants, we, me, and all of you work for the public and do our best to welcome and represent their interests and ideas. And so I just wanted to share my thoughts on this. I thank you for considering my request, and I apologize I couldn't review the notes ahead of time because I know they're all getting approved. So if I misspoke on something that already exists, then hopefully I can be directed to the notes where that is. And I'm happy to submit my comments if you tell me how. So thank you, and thank you for your service.
Thank you. I think Jean, did you raise your hand? Okay, go ahead, Jean.
Hello. Hi, I'm Dr. Jean Powell Wilson from Main Street in Easthampton to speak against the mask mandate and potential vax mandates. I understand there is a mandate in school, but I just wanted to express my opinion, possibly to consider lifting them, the mask mandate. I speak as a concerned citizen and as a psychologist regarding the mask mandate and the potential vaccine mandate. As school districts are requiring to wear face masks for prolonged periods of time, where is the evidence that these face masks are effective? More importantly, where is the evidence that these masks do no harm to children? And what scientific studies are you basing your policies on? I'm highlighting some information from Children's Health Defense article, Dr. Russell Blaylock's mask brochure. He is a recognized board-certified neurosurgeon, author, and lecturer. And also, I'm highlighting information from Dr. Jim Meehan's evidence-based scientific analysis of why masks are effective, unnecessary, and harmful, with links to their sources. I would like to submit these for your review, either in paper or via email. First, my first point, children are not at risk for COVID-19. First, there are no child COVID deaths in Massachusetts, 0. There is virtually no risk of children dying from COVID. The CDC reports as of May 2021 that 366 deaths out of 74 million children ages 0 to 18 were attributed to COVID. That is a mortality rate of 0.00049%, virtually 0. As a cause of death, COVID ranks behind injury, suicide, cancer, influenza, among other diseases. Informed doctors argue that not even a hint endangered through mass vaccination against a disease that is not dangerous to them. The COVID vaccines are experimental and more dangerous to children than the disease. Prior to the EUA expansion to 12 to 15-year-olds, the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System, VAERS, showed 2 deaths in 15-year-olds who had each received a Pfizer or Moderna vaccine. In these clinical trials testing 1,000 adolescents, 12 to 15-year-olds in the Pfizer group and about the same number in the Moderna group, the death rate was approximately 0.1%, 2 in 2,000. 0.1% is over 200 times higher than the COVID-19 mortality rate of 0.00049%. So why force an experimental shot on children when there is virtually no risk of getting COVID? And when a potential side effect of taking a vaccine is death, or even more, like lately we have seen, heart problems such as myocarditis that these youths will have for the rest of their life. Are vaccines necessary for children? No. Are vaccines safe for children? No. There is no benefit. Are vaccines harmful to children? Yes. Your oath is to protect children. Mandating this experimental gene therapy could bring injury or death to children. Is this the legacy of safety you want to have on children by your decisions? I ask you to consider in light of the future. Since there is no risk of COVID-19, then there is no need for any medical interventions. There is no need to make things safe because children are already safe. They don't need to get vaxxed and they don't need to mask. So my same question that was applied to vaccines are also applied to masks. Are masks effective? First, keep in mind that COVID-19 is not primarily a droplet problem. It is an aerosol problem. Coronavirus is 0.1 micron. The N25 pore size is 0.3 to 10 micron, 0.3 to 10 microns. Which is bigger? The pore size. Wearing a mask to keep out a virus is like keeping a mosquito out of a chain link fence. You wearing a mask does not protect you or anyone else from medical transmission, aerosol transmission of the virus. Actually, if you need me to wear my mask to protect you, what are you in effect saying? You're saying that your mask does not work. But here, really, compare the size of the virus with the pore size. Which is bigger? The pore size. It should also be noted that the CDC and the World Health Organization have never instructed healthy people to wear masks as a way of managing the pandemic until recently. Only an infected person wears a mask. For example, when a person is infected with tuberculosis, he is the one who wears a mask. Healthy people do not need a mask. Remember, Dr. Fauci told us in March 2020 with John LaPook in 60 Minutes that masks are not needed and not effective as you may think it is. In the past, who have never even recommended mask wearing for the flu, where the typical size of the flu particle is 0.3.
Jean,
Yeah.
Jean, I hate to interrupt you, but I need you to wrap it up slightly because you're way over 3 minutes.
Okay.
and
All right.
That's our limit.
All right. Basically, they're not based on any studies, and that masks are really harmful because they have greater carbon dioxide levels from breathing it in and lower oxygen levels, and that really affects the immunity. The irony of all this is we're trying to have vaccines and masks for safety, but the actual data on safety shows otherwise. So I know that you have your oath to protect the well-being of children and creating a place to learn and to grow. I just want to implore you to just consider the safety in the actual data in the way
Thank
that
you.
you make decisions and how you leave your legacy. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Sean?
Thank you. My name is Sean Sheehan. I am the EEA president, and I am speaking in support of our vaccine mandate because this is something that I have actually surveyed our EEA members on, and 81.7% of EEA members support the administration asking for the vaccination status from the staff, and also 77.4% support the vaccine mandate. So a majority of the EA members support this, and we also support the wearing of masks in school by everyone. And so I just thought I would share that with everyone. And we also, I just wanted to share that out of all the unions, when I go to different union meetings for the MTA, they use our COVID protocols as a model. And I would like to thank everybody, including Megan Harvey, who I think is next in the queue. Like, no one can say that they had an epidemiologist who was a part of this, who actually helped us out. So I just wanted to say that. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Megan, I think you're next. Yep. Hi.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, Sean, for those really kind words. It means a lot to hear that. And I also want to thank the district and Dr. Leclerc for implementing a vaccine mandate and/or weekly testing. This is a model that's been used really widely at a variety of institutions, including higher education institutions, really successfully. And I didn't know prior to joining the meeting that was happening. And I teared up a little bit because this is just, as I wrote in my email to the school committee and administration last week, 2 weeks ago, this district is really doing just about everything that can be done to protect the entire community. And it's so nice to see these even further steps being taken. So thank you. And I also just wanted to, it's not a place to debate science, and certainly.
Hold on, Megan, you froze.
As somebody who works in this field. Oh, I'm gonna turn my video off just in case that helps
Okay,
me.
that's better.
Okay.
That's better. Thank you.
It's the internet this time of night. So again, it's not to get into a debate about science with Dr. Wilson or to, do any of that sort of back and forth, but just from my expertise with a PhD in epidemiology, there are more than 65 peer-reviewed manuscripts on masking in the last 10 years alone, and many more prior to that, showing they are incredibly safe for the person wearing them, children and adults alike. They reduce the viral particle load in the air by blocking the source. They also reduce risk of infection. And we're actually seeing evidence now from multiple peer-reviewed studies that they reduce the severity of disease, even if somebody does get infected, which is really huge. In other words, if you wear a mask, you end up with less severe COVID than if you had not been wearing a mask around an infected person. There's so much to say about all this, and I don't want to harp on it. We learn continuously. It's true, Dr. Fauci originally said no masks, but we have come a long way in the past year in understanding what is appropriate mitigation strategies. The vaccine is, quite frankly, a marvel of medicine. It's not experimental. It's been in the works for 20 plus years since the original SARS classic hit. And along those lines, folks in other countries have been wearing masks on and off since that SARS classic outbreak, while the US has not, just because we were hit in a different way from SARS classic. We were not really impacted. And just finally, last thought, COVID is certainly lower risk to children than it is to adults, and especially older adults. It's probably about on par with the flu, which is to say we should not be, shutting schools down, screaming, crying, now that our adults are vaccinated. Note what I'm saying. Now that adults are vaccinated, we've made all the right moves so far. But it doesn't mean it's nothing. It doesn't mean that we just throw our hands up and say, you might as well get infected. There's so much we don't know yet. So thank you for letting me respond and just jumping in and saying hello, and appreciate all you do. Thanks.
I muted myself so that Megan didn't break up. Okay, anybody else? I'm looking through and I'm not seeing anybody signal.
Are people still allowed to talk? I'm so sorry I signed on late.
We still have public speak, so if you would like to talk, is that Lisa?
Yeah, hi, I'm gonna
Okay.
try to pull off my, so you can
Sure.
see me, but I'm not sure if,
That's
but yes, my
okay.
name is Lisa Coughlin.
Okay. You're on.
All right, so my name is Lisa Coughlin. I'm a concerned parent of our 3- and 5-year-old. My husband and I live on Pomeroy Street in Easthampton. I'm also a pediatric and adult nurse practitioner here in our community. I want to thank you all for the opportunity to voice my concerns. Masking children should be a parental choice. I urge you all to trust the science. There is overwhelming data proving that mask wearing does not reduce viral transmission. And frankly, we're creating immunity debt in these children. They have spent more than a year unexposed to normal illnesses. I feel it's time to put facts over fears and give our children the dignity to unmask the beautiful faces. I could go on and on about the importance of unmasking children from a medical, social, and emotional standpoint, but it does not seem that us parents are allowed to be empowered to make the most appropriate decisions for them. I'd also like to remind the committee a bit of history when it comes to informed consent. The right to avoid the imposition of human experimentation is fundamental. It's rooted in the Nuremberg Code of 1947, which was ratified by the 1964, excuse me, I'm a little nervous, Declaration of Helsinki, and further coded in the United States Code of Federal Regulations. These principles were adopted by the FDA and its regulations requiring the informed consent of all human subjects. And the Massachusetts DPH Review Board, and in accordance with FDA regulations, defines any medical device intended to be used for safety or effectiveness as quote unquote research. In medicine, we refer to this as IRB approval. The Institutional Review Board, or IRB, is a group that is formally designated to review and monitor medical research involving human subjects. The law is very clear. It's unlawful to conduct medical research, even in the case of emergency, unless steps are taken to secure informed consent of all participants. All schools mandating the use of face masks in children are not only willfully ignoring established science, but they're engaging in what counts to a whole school clinical experimental trial. This conclusion is reached by the fact that face mask use in COVID-19 incidents are being reported in scientific opinion pieces promoted by the CDC and others. And the fact is, after reviewing all of the studies worldwide, the CDC found no reduction in viral transmission with the use of face masks. The data is clear, and children rarely become severely ill. They're asymptomatic spreaders. It's quite clear. And I believe that it's time to think about our children's best interest. No child should ever bear the burden of protecting an adult. It's our job to protect them, and anything short is child abuse, and it's not following the science. I am happy to provide loads and loads of research for you. I'm sorry, I'm nervous and very emotional because I care so much about our community's children. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? I'm looking through and I'm not seeing anybody signal. If you want to say anything, now's the time. I'm going to close public speak in a second. Okay, not seeing anybody signal. We are going to close public speak. Thank you. All right. So you have already introduced our student representative. It's written here as a student representative introduction and update. I am assuming that you have already covered that with everything. Kayla, is there anything you would like to say?
Just that I'm very excited to be here and thank you for having me.
Well, we're very grateful to have you. All right, thank you. Policy subcommittee updates. There's quite a bit.
Well, there's not quite a bit. There's just more than there has been. So we submitted the minutes. Those don't have to be voted on, do they?
Sue? Yes, we're going to be voting on accepting them, but not as, are those the ones tonight? Yeah. Sue?
I'm trying.
Okay.
No, you don't need to vote on them. They'll be
These are
voted
just
in.
taking.
Mhm.
Good.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. Okay, so the GCBC substitute teacher compensation update. What we did was we updated the substitute fees per day based on more up-to-date numbers. So I'd like to make a motion for the first reading of GCBC-1. Sorry.
I second that. Okay. Any discussion? Okay, roll call. Lori?
Laurie Garcia, aye.
Maren?
Maren Goldstein, aye.
Marissa?
Marissa Carey, aye.
Jonathan?
Jonathan Schmidt, aye.
Shannon?
Shannon Dunham, aye.
Mayor LaChapelle?
Mayor LaChapelle, aye.
And Cindy Kuzensky, aye.
Okay, on GCBC-2, substitute nurse compensation, we did the same thing. We increased the rates, bringing it more level with, other communities. So I'd like to make a motion for the first reading to accept GCBC-2.
I second that.
Okay, any discussion? Lori?
Laurie Garcia, aye.
Maren?
Maren Goldstein, aye.
Marissa?
Marissa Carey, aye.
Jonathan Schmidt, aye.
Shannon
Shannon?
Dunham, aye.
Mayor LaChapelle?
Mayor LaChapelle, aye.
Cindy Kuzensky, aye.
Okay, so the next one is the EBCFA face coverings. We are bringing it in line with the MASC most recent update to include social distancing. We did remove a couple of their items and kept our acceptable face coverings as well as the non-acceptable face coverings that we had added to their policy back in March, I believe. Oh, I'm sorry, back in April. So I would like to make a motion for the first reading to accept EBCFA.
I second that.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, Lori,
Laurie Garcia, aye.
Maren,
Maren Goldstein, aye.
Marissa,
Marissa Carey, aye.
Jonathan Schmidt, aye.
Shannon Dunham, aye.
Mira,
Mayor LaChapelle, aye.
Cindy Kuzensky, aye.
And the last one that we have is KG-E, Community Use Facilities Update. On this one, what we did was we updated the custodial fees based on current value. So we increased section 2. So I'd like to make a motion to accept the first reading of KG-E, Community Use of Facilities.
I second that.
Any discussion? Okay, Lori,
Laurie Garcia, aye.
Maren,
Maren Goldstein, aye.
Marissa,
Marissa Carey, aye.
Jonathan
Jon-
Schmidt, aye.
Shannon Dunham, aye.
Mayor
Yeah.
LaChapelle, aye.
Cindy Kuzensky, aye. All right, thank you. Do we have a finance subcommittee update?
Not at this time.
Okay, how about a collaborative update?
Yeah, I don't have too much to share. We did meet recently, and it was our first full board meeting with the new executive director, Todd Gazda. So it was excellent to hear how he's gotten himself acclimated and started to make connections across the agency and districts that are served. I always like to come and tell you a little bit about what they present to us on because I find them fascinating. And oftentimes we look at like the little obscure thing that is easily overlooked. But this time we zoomed out and looked at one of the biggest things that they do, which is their contract with DYS, which is what they do to serve incarcerated youth in across the state, essentially. It's not just the normal districts served by the collaborative. They've been doing this for 17 years, but for the first time, they are now the lead agent of this program. They had been subcontractors, but now, they've done such great work and have proven themselves capable of taking on this added responsibility. And I think what's special about that is their ability to really kind of, I think, vision and direct the program a little bit more and aligning things with their social justice and equity platform and their efforts to, really grow educators from within the organization and create a more diverse workforce. And yeah, so it was just really, fascinating to hear about this other side and, this piece that really helps support all of the rest of the work that they do further down the chain. A couple other things I'll just mention in case it's relevant to our district, that both Heck Academy and Mount Tom Academy do still have openings for, I believe it must be this school year. And they made a comment about looking to find new trainers in the districts that they serve to support their social justice and equity work, because I believe, it's really starting to, it started in Easthampton, it's beginning to spread to more and more districts. And I think they're looking for ways to empower educators who are have been previously trained in this to help them, spread that further. So if there's interest in that, I can certainly look into it. But I trust Dr. Leclerc has her own contacts if she finds that useful. So that's the gist of it. I believe I have one more meeting with them before the end of this year when my term is up. So I'll definitely be just letting you, Chairperson Krasinski, know, who you might need to be in contact with in terms of setting up a new representative or liaison. So that's all I got for you today.
Thank you. All right, on to COVID advisory update.
Yes, we have a scheduled COVID advisory meeting, I think, coming up maybe next week. I don't remember off the top of my head, but just a couple pieces of information regarding COVID. Just something to clarify that I heard from a few speakers this evening, and I know we don't engage kind of in a back and forth, but I just want to be clear for anyone listening tonight that the decision right now about whether to wear a mask in school or not is not within the purview of the school committee, which I think a few people made that leap tonight. Currently, there is a state mandate for all public schools to be masked. So I wanna just be clear, we are adhering to the state mandate to wear masks. There's no, it's not a choice that this school committee currently has in front of them. They don't have any say in that. So I wanted to make sure that people had the correct information about that. The Commissioner of Education, the mandate is currently through November 1st, and the Commissioner may choose to extend that mandate, where at the discretion of the committee, the state board. So we await further information on that. The Commissioner did provide school districts with an off-ramp, what they're calling an off-ramp, for schools within a district to apply to remove masks if and when they can demonstrate 80% vaccination rates between staff and students. Thus, one of the reasons we're starting to collect information from staff, and then we'll begin collecting information from students. We anticipate that the first school that would qualify in the district of Easthampton would be our high school. Obviously, it's not even a consideration at the lower grades because there is no vaccination available yet. So again, to the parents in the community watching, there is no choice or no discretion for this school committee to have any say in when masks come off unless the state changes the practice that they've put in place. So I have been in contact with Bree Extart, our city health director, because we currently have a mask mandate in the city of Easthampton. So it would not be prudent for us to go through the exercise at the high school because we're all wearing masks in the city. So I have asked for an agenda item on the next Board of Health meeting in November for the City Board of Health to discuss what would trigger the city to move to a point where they drop the mask mandate, because the school department can't drop the mask mandate until the city drops the mask mandate. So that's where we are. And so I just want to provide that information to the community and make sure everyone understands the process that lies in front of us. So that's where we are. COVID testing is going well. We have the majority of the districts signed up for COVID testing. We're hoping each week that more students will come on board as, you know, people start to hear that it's not that scary to do it. And, you know, the results that we're getting are good. We did, in our first week doing it, we did have one positive student that was asymptomatic, but it was good that we found that student. And we had no positive cases last week, and hopefully we'll have another good week this week. So that's all I have to report on COVID. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have a safety update? We have that separate from COVID.
Correct. The safety committee has not met.
Okay. Do we have a wellness?
And maybe just to clarify, that safety committee is when it's called forward by in conjunction with the teachers union. So.
Okay. Do we have a wellness update?
Yes, I have a quick wellness update just to report on two very successful events. It's always nice to move away from COVID response and do something to promote wellness, as I've said before. So we had our first successful rodeo, and I'd like to thank Jeff Bagg, our city planner, for really helping to put it together. And Officers Rogers and Siki were there, as well as Scott Kavanaugh, who's one of our wonderful teachers from Whitebrook and also on the Manhan Rail Trail. So the rodeo promoted bicycle safety, helmets were fitted, and the children had a wonderful time. And then a few days later, we had our first successful fall bike walk and roll event, which was an international event. And as I've said many times before, it's phenomenal to be able to see people in such a social way and enjoying the bike path and going to school. We had school administrators there and a lot of parents and children, and it was great. And we're going to even hope for a bigger event, as I told the students, when for the first time in the spring, they will be walking, rolling, and biking to our new Mountain View School. So stay tuned for that update. Thanks. And also, Dr. Leclerc, I was wondering, I had asked if there would be some brief time for Lucy, our Safe Routes to School coordinator, to present on the data from our bicycle survey at our next meeting. She doesn't need a lot of time, but it'd be nice to check in. Can we put her on the agenda? Great, wonderful, thank you.
All right, thank you. Now it's time for the superintendent update.
Thank you. And we have Bert Gardner with us this evening from Kalo and Beanick. Bert is our architect for the Mountain View School. And it's so nice to shift away from some of the COVID things that we talk about so often to something as exciting as the new school, which will be opening very soon. And there's a lot of progress that's been made. And so we're really grateful to have Bert here this evening to, I think he has some slides. So if someone can share the screen with him, and he can talk a little bit about the school so that families in the community can hear a little bit of information about what's going on there. So welcome, Bert.
Bert, you're all set.
Okay, thank you very much. I know a lot of you, but for those of you who don't know me, I am the architect for the school. Bert Gardner is my name, and I'm an Easthampton resident, so I deal with a lot of the same issues that you do surrounding the construction of the school. Let's see, I will actually shut off the video because my internet's never very good, and I will share with just speak up, anybody, if you don't for any reason. I'm going to put it in presentation mode, I hope. Okay, so this is just going to be a pretty quick, brief overview of where the school's at. Dr. Leclerc mentioned that we've got the new school opening for 5th through 8th graders this coming January, as soon as kids return from their break. And things are on schedule, believe it or not, despite all the supply chain issues and all of the other challenges that the pandemic brought to us. So we're in good shape. I'm going to start up at the street. Well, I know this isn't really the exciting part of the school. The roundabout is certainly a topic of conversation in town. And I know that there's a little bit of work left to be done, so I'm just going to give a quick update on this. The roundabout is pretty much completed at this point. This transition onto South Street is not completed yet, but it will be completed by the end of next week. I think the paving date is Wednesday next week, the 20th. So that's really the last piece. All the final paving will be done at that point. They do have to do a little bit of regrading at South Street. I'm sure some of you are aware of the kind of steep transition onto the road. They're going to try to correct that, and it really should be corrected. There's a combination of things that led to the steepness, but ultimately everything's in place at this point to get that corrected. Then moving to the school itself and the property of the school, just a quick update on the phasing and how this is all working. The entrance drive has been complete for a while. Once you get to the bottom of the steeper part of the hill that builds up to the roundabout, where we go from final pavement to what's called the binder or the base course of pavement, that's 2.5 inches thick, and the final base of pavement is 1.5 inches thick. And we try to keep that off as long as we can, just because save on wear and tear for the final coat, basically. But the pavement extends down the entrance drive into a good portion of the middle school parking lot, a good portion of the bus loop, and then the service drive behind the school as well, so that once students start attending the new school in January, there'll be plenty of parking for staff. There is a temporary, you can kind of see in the diagram here, the lighter gray portion, that's a temporary bus access point to connect to the bus loop. And then obviously the service area is open for delivery so that the building can be stocked and supplied as needed to operate throughout the year. Come January 2nd, when the students start in the new school, the general contractor will have the opportunity to move into the existing Whitebrook Middle School. They'll do their abatement of all the hazardous materials that are found within the construction of that school. And once that's all been cleaned and abated properly, they'll take down the building. Some of you who have been down to the site might realize that the parking lot for the middle school is significantly lower than where the bus loop in the existing middle school is. The floor for the new school is about 5 feet lower than the floor at the existing Whitebrook Middle School, and the parking lots and everything are down lower as well. That's one of the reasons that we have to do a temporary access point for the buses, because we can't get rid of that grade differential until the new building can come down. So by spring, I would say late spring, March, that building will be down and they'll start being able to do the rest of the cut for the site work and start installing the parking lots for the remainder of the parking areas. We'll also see the contractor begin work on the athletic field and track at that time. And then ultimately the completion of the whole school project is scheduled for mid to late August, and that's on schedule as well right now. The portions of this plan that are colored in, with the exception of the yellow Whitebrook footprint, kind of signify what is done now. So anything that you see with a green shaded hue to it, that's all access, or that's all outdoor amenities that the students will have access to. So we've got at the upper field, what was the old practice field, we've got an exercise circuit that surrounds a couple basketball courts. We've got a recreational field in the back, which can still be used for practice purposes for the intramural sports. And then between the elementary school wings, we've got some courtyards, which really lend themselves to more quiet outdoor activities, outdoor classrooms and things like that. And then beyond the end of the school, between the east end of the school and the tree line into Nonotuck, we've got more of the active play area and some of the structured play equipment and a lot of natural play equipment planned for that area. That should all be available for the students this spring, and even starting in the winter. It's being planted right now. So the darker portion of the building footprint itself, the dark purple area, that's all the portions of the school that will be available to students. So we've got the adaptive PE, full gymnasium, we've got 2 cafeterias, a kitchen, and the 3-story middle school wing, which is to the left, and then the darker purple wing to the right is the 5th grade wing, which will ultimately become part of the elementary school program. I think that just about covers that. And next update is just on furniture, fixtures, and equipment, the FF&E package, and our technology packages. These are all in line to support students coming to the building in January as well. All of the furnishings, fixtures, and equipment have been ordered, and deliveries will begin on these items in November. Classroom desks, chairs, and the office furniture deliveries have been confirmed beginning in November and going through December. So I call those the essentials. We've got student desks confirmed for delivery and set up before students arrive in January. And we've got office furniture as well. On the technology side, the network will be functional prior to January 2nd, and all the phones have been ordered and will be installed prior to January 2nd as well. There are some COVID supply chain issues that are impacting furniture delivery. Right now, the only items that we've heard definitively won't be delivered till late December and installed sometime in January is the library shelving. But the moving company that we're working with has portable shelves on wheels, so the books can be moved to the library and be on shelves so that they'll be usable. They won't be in boxes on the floor someplace. So far, our consultants for the furniture and fixtures and equipment packages have been, very, very transparent with us, and we've been able to work with the district just to make sure that there are no surprises in the end, and that we'll have the essentials for opening the school in January or a backup plan in place. Next is the LEED status. So I don't know if people realize this, but the MSBA, a requirement of theirs is that we provide green schools in all the public schools that we design in the state. And we chose for this project to follow the LEED program, which is the U.S. Green Building Council, their program. There's a couple ways to do this. The mandate for funding is certified, and that was also the mandate that the school building committee directed us to meet a minimum of certified status with our LEED goals. With the caveat that if we can get into the silver category, they would like us to try doing that. So I can tell you that there's a couple options you have when having your project reviewed for conformance with the LEED program. One is to submit everything at the end, because there are two portions. There's the design portion and then there's the construction portion. You do have the option of submitting the whole project at the end and having it reviewed, or you can split that up and submit the two individual parts separately. We chose to do that. So we've already submitted the design portion, and out of the 46 points that we attempted to get in the design, we received all 46 of those. We were awarded those. So the Mountain View School, currently as it stands, without any construction input, is in the certified category for the school. Will comfortably be into the silver category, and our lead consultant actually feels that there's a chance that we might end up with a LEED gold school at the end of this project as well, because the contractor is doing a very good job at choosing materials that are healthy for the building and managing pollution and construction debris, waste streams, and things like that. So the project's very in very good a very good position with regard to its sustainability. And then lastly, just for anybody who doesn't tune into Pat Ruff's YouTube channel, I've got some still photos here of the project. It is still in construction, so none of the photos are kind of finished photos. You can see on the left here, this is a typical middle school classroom, showing the writable wall surface that's in all the classrooms. There's no wall base underneath it, but you can kind of get a feel for what the classroom will be. To the right is a middle school classroom, again, kind of showing the wall of casework that the classroom has for storage. We've got bookshelves and other things around the room for storage as well. We've got lots of writable surface in addition to the writable wall, which is intended more for brainstorming activities with the kids, but we've got the formal whiteboards on two other teaching walls as well. And I think that's a theme throughout the school, just lots of display space. All of our whiteboards are magnetic. So rather than having fabric covered cork boards that can hold dust and things, it was another decision for indoor air quality that was made early in the project to have all magnetic surfaces for display of student work. The next is on the left, an image of our entrance lobby on the middle school side, where you can kind of see some abstract kind of cloud ceiling, mimicking maybe the clouds, butterflies, or the underside of a tree canopy. I've heard all of those from people. And then just kind of nicer pendant light fixtures hanging down in response to a request early on that the school be less institutional feeling than your traditional schools and more welcoming. So we've tried to keep the lighting package in particular kind of unique from what your traditional school would have been. On the right-hand side is the gymnasium. This is an enormous gym, probably one of the largest gyms that I've done in a public school. But it holds a full school or the full elementary school population for a school assembly in the bleacher seating. And then you've got floor seating in front of that as well. We're looking at the proscenium opening to the stage. The stage is two-sided. So from the adaptive PE, which is on the opposite side of that stage, there's a smaller opening for smaller venue performances. That proscenium opening still needs to receive its final kind of wood panels that surround it. You can see that some of the acoustic wall treatment is going up. It's the colored rectangles and squares on the upper wall. There's still some paint to be done. And you can also see components of the bleachers, which was tried last week and are ready to be installing. Now I'm moving to the elementary school side, and you can kind of just see a typical corridor with the tile wainscot. It's a little bit more playful and a little bit lower on the wall than on the middle school side, which also has a tile wainscot to protect the lower half of the walls, but a little bit more formal and grown up, I guess, for the middle school students. To the right is an elementary school classroom. Again, they've got a kind of a fun floor pattern going on in their rooms, and they typically have a little bit more views outside at that age as well, but still writable wall surface, interactive TVs in all of the rooms. So the elementary school side's moving along pretty well too, considering we only need one wing completed for January. On the left on this slide is a picture of the elementary school cafe. It's got a nice maple ceiling and again, some fun light fixtures that are less school looking. And just more welcoming, I think, than the typical 2x4 or 2x2 lay-in light fixtures or industrial looking pendants. So we've also got some nice color with the wall treatments, the acoustical wall treatments up high in this room. And what's out of the picture is a full wall of windows, which is beautiful looking out to the tree line where the Williston cross-country trails run. So, and I guess that's it. Oh, on the right-hand side there is some of that in that photo. I didn't have any good photos of the courtyards. One of them is pretty far along with the landscaping, and I have to say it's a really calming space when you go out to the courtyards. Just the way that they've been landscaped by our landscape architects. I think they did a nice job, and I think that the school will be very happy and get a lot of use out of those. And does anybody have any questions? I will stop the share then and let you guys get back to your meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Bert. We appreciate it. I think everyone
Anybody have questions? I see somebody's hand up. Hold on, Maren. Okay, Maren has questions.
Well, less than a question. I just wanted to comment. I think it's really phenomenal. We've been doing this for many, many years. We've really come a really long ways. And to see the school really taking shape and to be talking about our students actually being in there in 3 months is pretty a phenomenal, very sort of, especially considering COVID and all of the challenges that that's thrown so many people across so many different industries that we're still on target and still meeting that as expected. I think that's just super phenomenal. To Bert, to you and to your team and to all the different teams working on this. And so it's been a real pleasure to be on the school building committee for however many years we've been doing that now. But it's just really exciting to see us getting to that point. One of the other things I just thought I'd throw out there too, off of the map that Bert had mentioned earlier, there are a couple other access points that are being built in the sidewalks that are allowing for sort of trail access for students to be able to bike to school through some of the other different access points. So not just coming down off of Park Street, but there's a number of access points that are being developed. And so really give our students from different neighborhoods the ability to get into that school and participate without having to get on a school bus. So there's just really a lot of really exciting things happening, and just want to thank you very much for all your work, Bert.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, I'm very excited. I love looking at the pictures and hearing the report. Even though I go to the meetings every month, it's always exciting to think that we are going to be in there finally after so long. It's just going to be a joyous day. Okay, school start time survey.
Yes, I just wanted to update the committee. The survey is closing this evening. We have, I should say, we've done a survey with a lot of open-ended questions. We sent it to students, staff, families. We put it on social media. We've had well over 500 responses. So we have a lot of information to really cull through. And Jean Libby, our family engagement coordinator, is disaggregating the data right now so that we can present you with meaningful data at the next school committee meeting. So I just wanted to give you kind of that insight into the direction we're moving in. We're trying to break it down so that we can share with you really kind of the different thoughts and impressions of maybe the younger families with younger children versus families with older children, rather than just giving you a data point of, is it a yes or is it a no? We want to try and break it down a little bit more. We also want to be considerate of all the feedback that people gave us in narrative form about concerns they had or things that they thought were very positive, other considerations they wanted us to bring into the mix. So we'll be able to share that out. That will be on the agenda for the next school committee meeting, more thorough insight into that. And then the other agenda item is just simply an October 1st enrollment update that's in your packet. And so if we include our early childhood students, our total number of students is 1,420 students, which is slightly lower than last year. Obviously, I don't have a crystal ball, but I do think that people are still keeping children home and homeschooling them in higher numbers than we've seen in previous years. Last year and this year, our numbers for homeschooling are a little bit higher than we've seen historically in the past. And I think some of that has to do with families, own situations and kind of waiting to see what happens. So I'm not terribly concerned about it. We've also been thoughtful in adding school choice students because we know that we need to keep our class sizes on the smaller side because we are consciously separating desks so much. And in some of our schools, like in Center and Pepin, our classrooms are very small. So we have to limit the number of students we have in a classroom. So we've been really careful not to take on too many school choice students. So hopefully that will change a little bit next year when we go into the bigger school building, but I'm happy to entertain any questions or comments people have about either one of those issues, enrollment or school start times.
I can just say I looked at the survey and I really like the combinations that were offered and the chance for people to also give a very different idea, a creative idea of their own. So I thought it was a really nice survey. So thank you. I'm excited to see what they come up with. It's a hard decision. Anybody have any comments? Okay, we are moving along. All right. So we have a long list of accounts to approve, minutes to approve. When we get down to budget transfers, that's where we'll do some quick discussion before a vote, but that's not till P. And other than that, we should move pretty quickly to accept the rest of this. Okay, Marissa, hit it.
You're on mute, Marissa.
Sorry about that. Okay. And I apologize in advance for the incessance here. Okay, a motion to approve school payroll dated 9/23/2021 in the amount of $547,218.66.
I'll second that.
Maren,
Aaron Goldstein, aye.
Marissa,
Marissa Carey, aye.
Shannon,
Shannon Dunham, aye.
Jonathan,
Jonathan Schmidt, aye.
Mayor,
Mayor LaChapelle, aye.
Lori,
Laurie Garcia, aye.
Cindy Kuzensky, aye.
Motion to approve accounts payable authorization for payment dated 9/23/2021 in the amount of $212,817.76.
I'll second that.
Aaron Goldstein, aye.
Marissa,
Marissa Carey, aye.
Shannon,
Shannon Dunham, aye.
Jonathan
Jonathan,
Schmidt, aye.
Mayor,
Mayor LaChapelle, aye.
Laurie Garcia, aye.
Cindy Kuzensky, aye.
Motion to approve school payroll dated 10/7/2021, the amount of $554,609.63.
I'll second that.
Aaron Goldstein, aye.
Marissa,
Marissa Carey, aye.
Shannon Dunham, aye.
Jonathan Schmidt, aye.
Mayor LaChapelle, aye.
Laurie Garcia, aye.
Cindy Kuzensky, aye.
Motion to approve accounts payable authorization for payment dated 10/7/2021, an amount of $170,742.70.
I'll second that.
Aaron Goldstein, aye.
Marissa Carey, aye.
Shannon,
Shannon Dunham, aye.
Jonathan Schmidt, aye.
Mayor,
Mayor LaChapelle, aye. Sorry about that.
that's okay. Lori, you're muted.
Laurie Garcia, aye.
Cindy Kuzensky, aye.
Motion to approve the minutes from the September 21, 2021 regular meeting.
Second that.
Aaron Goldstein, aye.
Marissa Carey, aye.
Shannon Dunham, aye.
Jonathan Schmidt, aye.
Mayor LaChapelle,
Mayor LaChapelle, aye.
Laurie Garcia, aye.
Cindy Kuzensky, aye.
Motion to approve minutes from September 10, 2021 meeting.
I'll second that.
Aaron Goldstein, aye.
Marissa Carey, aye.
Shannon Dunham, aye.
Jonathan Schmidt, aye.
Mayor,
Mayor LaChapelle, aye.
Laurie Garcia, aye.
Cindy Kuzensky, aye.
Motion to approve minutes from the August 24, 2021 regular meeting with the stipulation to withhold executive session minutes until matters are resolved and reviewed.
Second that.
Aaron Goldstein, aye.
Marissa Carey, aye.
Shannon Dunham, aye.
Jonathan Schmidt, aye.
Mayor,
Mayor LaChapelle, aye.
Laurie Garcia, aye.
Cindy Kuzensky, aye.
Motion to approve the minutes from the August 23rd, 2021 negotiations minutes with the stipulation to withhold until matters are resolved and reviewed for release.
Second that.
Aaron Goldstein, aye.
Marissa Carey, aye.
Shannon Dunham, aye.
Jonathan Schmidt, aye.
Mayor LaChapelle, aye.
Laurie Garcia, aye.
Cindy Kuzensky, aye.
Motion to approve the minutes from the August 20, 2021 executive session, which was, the meeting was not actually held due to lack of quorum.
Second that.
Aaron Goldstein, aye.
Marissa Carey, aye.
Shannon Dunham, aye.
Jonathan Schmidt, aye.
Mayor LaChapelle, aye.
Laurie Garcia, aye.
Cindy Kuzensky, aye.
Motion to approve minutes from the August 17, 2021 executive session, also not held due to lack of quorum.
Second that.
Aaron Goldstein, aye.
Marissa Carey, aye.
Shannon Dunham, aye.
Jonathan Schmidt, aye.
Mayor LaChapelle, aye.
Laurie Garcia, aye.
Cindy Kuzensky, aye.
Motion to approve minutes from the August 16, 2021 negotiation with the stipulation to withhold until matters are resolved.
Second that.
Aaron Goldstein, aye.
Marissa Carey, aye.
Shannon Dunham, aye.
Jonathan,
Oh, Jonathan Schmidt, aye. Sorry.
that's okay. Mayor,
Mayor LaChapelle, aye.
Laurie Garcia, aye.
Cindy Kuzensky, aye.
I was reading ahead.
Motion to approve minutes from the November 30, 2020 negotiations pre-work minutes with the stipulation to withhold until matters are resolved and reviewed.
Second that.
Aaron Goldstein, aye.
Marissa Carey, aye.
Shannon Dunham, aye.
Jonathan Schmidt,
Mayor
aye. Let's do it again.
Mayor LaChapelle, aye.
Laurie Garcia, aye.
Cindy Kuzensky, aye.
Motion to approve minutes for the November 30, 2020 negotiations minutes with stipulation to withhold until resolved and reviewed.
Second that.
Aaron Goldstein, aye.
Marissa Curry, aye.
Shannon Dunham, aye.
Jonathan Schmidt, aye.
Mayor
Mayor
LaChapelle,
LaChapelle, aye.
Laurie Garcia, I.
Cindy Kuzensky, aye.
Motion to approve minutes from the November 2020 negotiations minutes with stipulation to withhold until resolved and reviewed.
Second.
Maren Goldstein, aye.
Marissa Curry, aye.
Shannon Dunham, aye.
Jonathan Schmidt, aye.
Mayor LaChapelle, aye.
Laurie Garcia, I.
Cindy Kuzensky, aye.
Motion to approve minutes of the December 10, 2020 negotiations with stipulation to withhold until resolved and reviewed.
Second that.
Maren Goldstein, aye.
Marissa Curry, aye.
Shannon Dunham, aye.
Jonathan Schmidt, aye.
Mayor LaChapelle, aye.
Laurie Garcia, I.
Cindy Kuzensky, aye.
Up next, we have that budget transfer request.
Okay.
Do you want me to say anything?
Yes, please.
Sure, there's a budget request to transfer $58,098 from our from our salaries account to our medical therapeutic consulting line. It is because we were unable to hire a speech and language pathologist for Maple School, so we are contracting out with an outside vendor to provide those services. So it's just moving the funds out of a salary line into a contracted services line.
I would make a motion to approve that budget transfer request.
I'll second that.
All right. Any
Maren
more
Goldstein, aye.
discussion? That's okay. Just want to make sure there's no discussion. Go ahead. Maren?
Maren Goldstein, aye.
Marissa Curry, aye.
Shannon Dunham, aye.
Jonathan Schmidt, aye.
Mayor?
Mayor LaChapelle, aye.
Laurie Garcia, I.
Cindy Kuzensky, aye.
We have a school choice opening request. Do we have any other information about this request?
No, it's just a student that currently lives in the district and has gone to school in the district, and they are moving out of the district but have requested to remain in Easthampton schools.
Okay.
We do have room to keep them.
Great.
Excellent.
Typically, we like to honor those requests and keep our students here. I would make a motion to approve that opening, or that the opening request. Yeah.
I second that.
Okay. Any more discussion? Maren?
Maren Goldstein, aye.
Marissa Berry, aye.
Shannon Dunham, aye.
Jonathan Schmidt, aye.
Mayor LaChapelle, aye.
Laurie Garcia, I.
And Cindy Kuzensky, aye.
And then, do we want to talk about these invoices for Bacon Wilson PC?
Yes, so last week I received 2 invoices from the mayor's office from the firm of Bacon Wilson PC. They were both from the same firm, and requesting that the school department pay them. Bacon Wilson is not our school district law firm. The school law firm is usually it's always appointed by the school committee. And so the committee has not approved Bacon and Wilson. So I informed the mayor of that, and I put it on the agenda tonight for your review. It's not, so I think you would need to approve Bacon and Wilson, because under education reform, you select any law firm that works on behalf of the school department.
So given we have a law firm on retainer, what is the reason that we've accessed these services that we have to pay additional fees for?
I don't know if the mayor would like to speak. I did not have knowledge of these invoices before they arrived on my desk, so I really have no background information.
Allison, could you help and just read the description, the quick description on these legal bills?
Yes.
Thank you.
And I think they're in your packet if you want to refer to them.
Oh, okay.
So the one was for disposal of excess school real property. And I think the description is for a conference at City Hall with Mayor LaChapelle, our project manager, city employees relative to sewer issues at school. And the other one was for the excess property.
So I would say the first one is actually allowed under DESI's chart of accounts, 1430, where the city is allowed to retain counsel for something that affects the school board, but normally is under the city. That does not require the school committee's adoption of any one lawyer, but it is legal services. The other one, it will be charged to the school, but should be charged to the MSBA, the school budget. And if there's not money left in the legal line item under the big budget document, then we'll put it towards contingency. So the second one should have gone to the school building project, but the first one is allowed under chart of accounts, again, 1430.
Any questions? Comments?
I mean, I guess follow up to the mayor would be, is it still then something that we need to vote to approve if the first is allowed and the second is being charged to the school instead of an additional invoice to our current budget?
I would say no, because under code 1430, there's direct instruction. One is for the school department, and then one is directly to city and town that allows such charge. There's also additional regulation in law about excess charge. This was in relation to school records that were in City Hall, not in a common space, and not school department space, which a common charge is charged. And we wanted to make sure that we were disposing of records in a consistent manner with the public records law that our consultant was using for all city departments, on top of what the school department's regulations are around school records, which has like something on top of a lot of the public records that we hold.
Okay, so just to be clear, I'm just trying to understand when we seek the services of another firm versus the one we're already paying for. And so is it just because this was a particular niche concern that this firm was already working with the city on the city side on these issues?
Right, and the liability if the records were disposed incorrectly would be on the city because we hold all the liability insurance. So we work with Trident Insurance Company and Bacon and Wilson for general liability issues. Some is when it's through insurance, and some is through just the city's agreement with Bacon Wilson. I would also add that the school committee de facto brings on and uses attorneys that they don't know about through workers' comp or unemployment claims, things through HR. And we're assigned an attorney as the city and the school department to represent us, and we do not have control over who that is, both neither city or school. There's a chart of account 1110 as well as 1410 that speak directly to the school committee's legal services, and what Superintendent Leclerc referred to as picking, the school committee picks their own legal counsel, but this is a common expense between the city and the school. I can't imagine, I think it's happened 3 times since I've been mayor, where we've used, I think 2 were employment issues and 1 was this. Maybe there were more. I would also just say, actually, I think I have to wait until the end. Okay, it's not related to this.
Okay. Any other questions, comments?
Well, so just to clarify, the school building piece, all of that administration, is that administered through our department? Or is it
No.
No, okay, so it shouldn't necessarily have been sent to our school
No,
building.
it was, yeah, I would think that Lindsay probably saw school in school, and instead of giving the one related to the project to Michael Owens, you know, she brought it up to the superintendent's office erroneously.
Okay, so that's gonna be withdrawn. That sounds totally makes sense, and all that makes sense perfectly well. And then is there, in terms of the second piece, it also makes sense that, you know, there's gonna be times where things are gonna be done by, you know, have to be done by a different legal team. Is there a way to get advance notice of that sort of thing in the future, or to know that that's going to be happening and going to be charged to our department?
Not necessarily, it's covered by the net school spending agreement. That's negotiated. Allison, when did we last, was it 2020? Or I think it was 2020, where it was renegotiated between your office and the city?
Correct.
So based on that, and I have not reviewed that document recently, but so is there, you're saying there's not advance notice, is there any limitations on what can be sent to us? Could, you know, before there is advance notice, or is there just, how exactly, could you just clarify for us how that works?
Sure, so the auditor, when she gets the POs or whatnot, as far as advance notice, for something like that, I wouldn't normally, it's covered by net school, which is already spending agreement, which is already agreed to by the school committee. So it's catched in that. And then the auditor is kind of the second check on that. She needs to find a chart of account. Say the legal bill, you know, I don't know, was $4,000. That would seem very, that would certainly go to an excessive amount in my, in my judgment, even if it was covered by net school spending, that's something the school committee should know about. And we would hope on that big legal bill that we would have advance notice.
Okay, yeah, just trying to understand, obviously a $300 bill is, you know, not an issue. But yes, exactly. If we suddenly received a $4,000 bill, you know, and had no ability to have any say on it, that would be something different, or more than that. Obviously, legal bills can get very expensive very fast. So, okay, it's just helpful to understand.
Okay.
Yes, I just wanted, I'll wait till new business. Actually, I don't want to confuse the issues. Okay.
Okay. So I'm trying to, one of these bills is going to be moved, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Item R.
R. Okay.
I think you're withdrawing R.
Do we need to vote to withdraw it? No.
No, because my understanding is the mayor is saying that that just was sent to the wrong, that was sent incorrectly to the wrong committee, correct?
Yes.
So I don't think we need to vote on that. The only one then we would need to vote on is S.
Okay, so I would make a motion to approve the invoice for Bacon Wilson PC number 442953 in the amount of $360 for 7/19/2021 legal research related to school excess.
Second.
Any other discussion? Okay, Maren,
Aaron Goldstein, aye.
Marissa Query, aye.
Shannon Dunham, aye.
Jonathan Schmidt, aye.
Mayor,
Mayor LaChapelle, aye.
Cindy
Garcia,
Kuzensky,
aye.
Cindy Kuzensky, aye. All right, so that looks like the entire list. And then we just have our other section. Now, there's something already there, staff changes.
It's just an updated document that Sue Colby prepared for you so that you could see the movement and new hires and things like that. so far this year.
Any questions about that?
Are there any positions that are currently of concern? Obviously, I understand, you know, paras and substitute teachers are low, if non-existent, in terms of substitutes. But if you could maybe just give a little bit of, are there any other positions that are not usually hired out, sort of like you had just listed in that other item before, that we're now doing the speech by a subcontractor? Are there any other positions that are sort of concerns, or are numbers are extremely tight? If you could just give a little bit of update on that, that might be helpful for us.
Sure, there are currently a few para-educator openings in the district that have been open, and we just can't find people to even apply. When we talk about substitutes, I think most people are considering daily substitutes, but if we have a teacher go out for a medical leave, maternity, an operation, and we need to get a substitute teacher for 8 weeks, we have no one. It's very, very difficult to find. Normally we would pull those people from our substitute ranks, but we have nobody really in our substitute ranks, so it becomes problematic. We're currently down some lunch monitors in the district that help us with some of the lunch scenarios that we're trying to keep students outside, inside. You know, we're trying to spread them out. We've hired, or we attempted to hire, additional lunch monitors in every building to accommodate more lunches, to accommodate more children spread out further. But we've lost people. You know, 2 weeks in, people quit, and then we can't find replacements. Those are some of our big struggles right now. We're on the edge. You know, if a teacher leaves, we're up the creek without a paddle.
Lori?
Thank you for that update, Allison. I was wondering if you've been able to use any of the parent volunteers who had signed up for the elementary schools to help with the lunches.
We have not used any parent volunteers for that purpose yet. We have used some parent volunteers for the purpose of doing some recruitment to get people to sign up for the routine COVID safety checks, answering questions in the car line. At the end of the day, our family engagement coordinator has been to the schools trying to answer everyone's questions, and she's had some parent volunteers work with her on that. When it came down to it, we've had very few parents that have actually gone through the process that would be necessary for them to volunteer to be lunch monitors. Many of them are not available, you know, at that time of the day, or they were, you know, didn't want to go through the fingerprinting process for whatever reason. And I asked for fingerprinting because they would be with children. So I did ask Jean Libby today if we, you know, how many people we had, and she said we had very few that actually went through the entire process.
Can I ask a question too? Normally we have, you've hired a ongoing sort of school building substitute teacher. Is that position filled, or is that also not, is that open right now? And do we have that at more than just one school, or in terms of current?
We don't currently have that this year because we did not reach an agreement on that during bargaining with the teachers union. So we were unable to move forward with that.
But you still have the one that was already in place?
No, we have none.
Oh.
So since we've concluded bargaining, is that not a, maybe I missed something. I'll admit that I missed details.
No, you didn't miss anything.
So
no,
I know that they wanted that position to be a part of the union. Is it something that we can discuss in this topic right now to understand if, like, why we can't hire that position and have that position at all?
We would need a memorandum of agreement with the union. In the way it's currently structured, I don't believe the union is willing to do that. But I do have a meeting with the union leadership this week, so I will discuss that with them because I don't want to speak for them on this call. And I can bring that information back to you at the next school committee meeting.
All right.
I'm curious how it works in our district. Do high school teachers and possibly Whitebrook teachers volunteer during prep periods to cover classes and then they're paid?
Yes, and paraeducators do as well.
Okay.
Yes, so I mean, teachers are stretched thin. They're stepping up and they're doing the extra work in all of our buildings, but it's already a very stressful job this year, as you well know.
I know.
So we really could use some additional support, and it's hard to find right now.
So my understanding is every school in the state is going through this. I know the school that I work at, our district is just really suffering, looking for pairs and for subs. So it's a really difficult situation because if too many people are out sick, who's running the school? But my understanding is every school district in the state is going through the same thing.
And I think that is why having, the position that has worked well for us in the last couple of years was that steady. I mean, it's not a substitute in the sort of traditional sense that a person comes and goes based on whether or not they get a call that morning. But sort of a permanent sub for a building really does give us more consistency and support. And I do understand that we had a difference of opinion of how that position was going to be placed, but it does seem like something that ultimately would really help teachers and give us more options and more likely to be able to hire that type of a position of a substitute teacher as opposed to phone calls the morning of kind of thing. And so I certainly hope that the union president, who is still on right now, and yourself can have a good conversation this week and look to see what might be possible to move forward with that.
Yeah, I agree. A permanent sub really alleviate a lot of stress.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, do we have another other? Mayor, I think you had something. You're on mute.
You're muted.
Just so I don't forget again, I wanted to add something to this agenda and got it in too late. For next meeting, I would like to actually talk about in-person meetings. It's funny, it came up tonight. Also just websites in particular, both the cities and the schools, and how we can link those together better, and the formatting of agendas and whatnot, so we have the same information. And Lindsay in my office is putting something together. And then also the net school spending report based on the agreement is now prepared as we're getting ready to submit our final balance sheet to the auditors. So in the last couple of years, I've just submitted that for information, but I'd like to submit it as an agenda item for us all to be able to discuss.
I want to make sure I get the three of them. So the first is in-person meetings, and then how did you word the second one?
Connectivity between the school website and the city's new website. So some stuff has changed on the city's end. And we've been talking with the Commission of Disability in the city about that, to make things just, streamlined, or as streamlined as they can be between departments that have their own website and the city's website.
Okay, and then the next one is net school spending report. Okay.
Yes.
Can I ask the mayor, could we possibly move the website to the November meeting only because our new website, which is ADA
Okay.
compliant, is going to be up within the next couple of weeks. So you may want to, it would be a waste of time to have the discussion around the old current existing website that's going to change in the next couple of weeks, which has all the ADA compliance stuff. So I think it's an important discussion. I just think we should wait until we have the new website in front of us to look at with your new website.
So could we actually, would you be amenable to pushing that to December? So we, like the commission and Lindsay can run the variance reports. And I just don't think that'll be ready by the November meeting.
That's fine.
Okay.
Okay, so connectivity would be December. Maren, you had something to say? Did you have your hand up? Oh, okay. Okay. Okay, and so in-person and net school spending would be on the October 26th. Lori?
I'm just curious because I know, Mayor, the city's moving over to everything Google-based, right?
Yeah.
Is that
Google
is that
Works?
correct?
Google
Yes,
Workspace, yeah.
And Dr. Leclerc, I know, like from being on the school committee email, that we use Outreach, which I detest. And I really like Gmail. And I know that some of the school does things with Google. So I just don't know why, like the whole city, including the schools, don't move everything over to Google. That's just my personal opinion.
We are
I've worked with
considering,
both.
we are doing that. We are doing that.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I hate
Well,
Outreach.
I don't think
Thank you.
we're on the same pace. I think the city is doing it before we are.
Okay, just good to know it's coming.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
And the schools get the education rate for Google and Google Workspaces is much lower than what the city pays per seat.
Okay.
And so I just want to be clear, for the October meeting, we have in-person meetings, we have net school spending. We're also going to be doing the school start time discussion. Those are, and I thought there was one earlier in the meeting, and I can't remember.
Yes.
Yeah.
Safe
the
routes
safe
to
routes
school. Lucy Friedman Bell would just like to present an update on the data collected from Easthampton.
And can I ask one other thing regarding the superintendent evaluation? Just a point of consideration. We can have a discussion about it tonight. We can have a discussion about it next time. You can think about it. But just the timeline for the evaluation. I could present goals at the next meeting. It sounds like we have a pretty full agenda, so that's one concern. I could wait until November, but that's election. I guess my concerns are on a couple different levels. We're losing some committee members and new ones are coming on. So if I make a presentation of goals now and then new members come on in January, will I do it again? I'm not sure how everyone wants me to proceed on that. Now that you've gone through the first contract with me, do we want to move to every other year doing the evaluation and do goals that are more kind of lengthy? Not that my goals are really shifting, but I put that out there. I see a few hands up, so I'll be quiet now.
So Maren, and then the mayor.
I would just say that I think that putting forward goals sooner rather than later makes the most sense to me. And as you've mentioned, the election this year is not contested. So hopefully the two oncoming potentially officials could just be able to be notified and to join as well, so that they can be sure to be there for that presentation as well. So that would just be my suggestion on how to not wait until January, because we have switching of a couple positions.
And then Mayor, you had a comment?
Yeah, I mean, I think sooner rather than later is the way to go. And even if the two new members in the uncontested race, I mean, it will be on Easthampton Media. I mean, the video is available as well. So that would, and also that saying that's a very full agenda on the 26th. I'm all of the things that I want to talk about as agenda items, they can all wait until December. I mean, the in-person meetings, not a lot is going to change. Maybe I have even a more up-to-date net school spending is already done and submitted to the state. So it's just a conversation around that. So it's not like it has to happen. And the website, you know, we can just, you know, especially with the new one coming out, I don't see that as urgent. I think it's a great thing to kind of talk through, given some of the feedback we got tonight, but nothing to focus. We have some full agendas, and the meetings have been long. So to move the 3 items I'm asking for, they can wait until the first meeting in December, no problem.
So
I
then
would echo.
Yeah.
I would echo the sentiments to do it sooner rather than later. And of course, it always gets added into our packet ahead of time. So being able to read and review that so that, you know, perhaps the conversation can be briefined. That's not a word, but you know what I mean. Could help.
Sure. So I'm not sure people picked up on the question that Dr. Leclerc is also asking, though. Professional status teachers get evaluated every other year. It's a 2-year review. So that was what she was tossing out because she's been here a number of years. At this point, the question is, do you want a yearly review or do you want every other year review? So that was the other piece that she put out on the table. Okay, everybody. So Marissa, I saw your hand go up first.
I was just going to say that I'll leave this to my colleagues who are remaining on the committee to make that decision. But it just occurred to me that if you are going to move to the every other year, this will be a good year to implement it because it will be on the cycle with the elections. So you're not having new committee members come in who weren't here for the first year of her review.
Shannon?
I thought it was required by MASC to do it yearly.
No. So Dr. Leclerc, do you want to talk to about
Superintendents match educators because we are licensed. And so in the first 3 years, it is required every year. Then after that, it is at the discretion of the school committee. Obviously, you know, if you had a superintendent that was in needs improvement, you might say, regardless of their professional status, we want to still evaluate them every year. I mean, I have been proficient every year, and I know that it takes a lot of time for all of you to get that done. So I just put it out there. Doesn't matter to me. I'll do whatever.
Mayor?
I would support going to every other year. And I think that Marissa's suggestion that this is a good time to do it, to be on cycle with the election, even adds strength to that. I think that, first of all, that evaluation form is banana cakes. I would take the bar exam before having to do that again. And I messed it up, I think 3 times on Cindy, so I'm sorry. But also, I mean, I do think with the professional status, it makes a lot of sense. And we have in these meetings, you know, very candid conversations, I think, about, you know, what a response is by the school committee or the superintendent or, you know, anybody. So I feel like if something was really going sideways, this committee would be addressing it and not just say, oh, it's not an evaluation year. Just like, you know, something goes fabulous, this committee is very likely, you know, to not wait until Allison's next evaluation to say that was great. So
Right.
I feel like there's a buffer. The evaluation to me feels very aligned with her goals and our district goals. And it's a very different idea than a back and forth that we would have over 2 years about how things are going, the flow of everything we talk about. So yeah, I'm fine with the suggestion and very much agree with Marissa to get it onto the cycle with the elections.
So as a teacher, I'm, with professional status, I appreciate having it be every other year because that allows me to concentrate on my goals, but also to concentrate on teaching and the job that I'm supposed to do. Versus always having to just submit documentation for work. It's really time saver to do it every other year. I'm very comfortable with moving to that every other year piece at this point. And I agree with Marissa. Again, this is a good time to get on that schedule if we agree to that. Because we will have 2 new people. And it goes nicely with the election cycle. Maren?
So 2 things. One is I wonder if that should be something then that we vote on and sort of set in place. The other question though is because we're in other and not actually in something, whether or not we can vote on that tonight.
So Sue, you want to weigh in on that?
You can vote on it if the chair so chooses.
I just wanted to make sure I was right because can't always count on me to be absolutely perfect with the rules, but I can count on Sue. Shannon, you had something you wanted to say? Okay. Lori, did you want to weigh in on that?
I agree with everything you said, Cindy, and Mayor, we have to, as educators, we have to deal with those forms all the time and they're horrific. So yes, we understand. So I think every other year is a great idea.
Okay. So would someone like to make a proposal?
I'll make a motion that we move the superintendent's evaluation and goals into a 2-year cycle starting this year.
I
For
second
Dr.
that.
Leclerc. For Dr. Leclerc.
Yeah, for the superintendent, Dr. Leclerc.
Okay, great.
I
Any
second
other
that.
any other discussion? Sorry, no, I heard you. I'm sorry, Lori.
It's okay.
Anything else? Okay, so let's vote on that. So Maren?
Maren Goldstein, aye.
Shannon?
Shannon Dunham, aye.
Jonathan?
Jonathan Schmidt, aye.
Lori?
Lori Garcia, aye.
Marissa?
Marissa Curry, aye.
Mir?
Mayor LaChapelle, aye.
Cindy Kuzensky, aye. And thank you, Sue, for backing us up with our procedures. So yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And that way we can ask that you concentrate on all the other pieces that we're asking you to keep juggling.
Thank you.
That's great. If there's no other, we could entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move we adjourn.
I second.
Okay, Maren?
Maren Goldstein, aye.
Shannon?
Shannon Dunham, aye.
Jonathan?
Jonathan Schmidt, aye.
Lori?
Lori Garcia, aye.
Marissa?
Marissa Curry, aye.
Mir?
Mayor LaChapelle, aye.
Cindy Kuzensky, aye. And I thank you, everybody, and have a wonderful night. See you on the 26th.
Good night,
folks.
Good night.
Recording stopped.